Welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Shawn Anthony. Listen, fam, I'm excited because right now you have chosen to listen to this episode. And you could have been anywhere, right? You could have been anywhere right now, over 2 million podcasts, but you're here with us. And here's the thing about this show, right? Each and every single week, we continue to bring you an inspiring person or a message that's truly going to help you, fam. Whether you're trying to climb that career, whether you're trying to climb that corporate ladder, or perhaps you're an entrepreneur trying to start out a business. Every person that's been on this podcast has most importantly answered the question we have all asked ourselves at some point. And that's school's over, now what? Like, what do we do, right? And because of you, this show has completely blown up. And for that, fam, I am forever grateful. If you've been watching this show for a while, you know how I like to kick things off, and that is with the review of the week. If you're watching this right now on YouTube, you see it. We're going to pull it right on up right now. It comes from Dante McBride, and they wrote, Shawn R. Anthony combines a gifted voice with intellectual prowess as he smoothly and effortlessly guides his guests through gem-filled episodes. Once I was lured in by the calming voice of the talented podcaster, I was quickly entertained as he tees up challenging and thought-provoking questions aimed to dig deep and provide value for the audience by teaching nuggets and gems about every aspect of life. School's Over Now What is for ambitious people who desire to learn, grow, and personally develop. Listen, fam, Dante McBride, I appreciate you for leaving this review. And perhaps you're listening to this right now, right? You've been rocking with us since we started, or perhaps you just caught grasp of the show and you gained something. You gained some type of knowledge like my guy Dante. And all we're asking right now is that you scroll to the bottom of your screen. If you're listening to this on Apple, click that 5-star rating, leave your review, or perhaps you're watching this on YouTube, smash that like button. It's helped us do tremendous things. Now let's get into it. Here's the thing. I have been waiting for this episode. This happens to be one of my favorite episodes we do only once a year. That's right. It's time for the best of the best. And here's the thing about this year. This year, we had over 24 guests, and it was so hard to pick the best of the best. But I promise you're going to enjoy this episode with thought leaders like Bradley, Amy Porterfield, Ryan Blair, and so many more. So sit back and enjoy. We'll see you in 2022. Here it is, the best of 2021. School's over. Now what? The podcast. I want to ask you the question that we've asked everybody who has ever been on this platform. Like, if you were that person who just graduated college, or, perhaps, you didn't even graduate at all, you didn't get no degree, and you're asking yourself the question of the show, school's over, now what? What advice would Ryan Blair give?
Thank you. It's funny. I dropped out of college myself. So I went to my professor my senior year in college, and I was in business school, and I'd gotten into a 4-year university. That was a big trajectory for me. Like, my family had never been to a prominent university, and I went to him and I said, "Hey, I'm starting a business and it's taken off, and I'm debating about whether or not I should drop out of school." And he told me, "Ryan, you'll be back here giving the keynote." So if school's out, now what? For me, I would start a business. I would start out as an entrepreneur. You could become a doctor, or you could become a lawyer, or you could become the person that writes the check to the doctor and the lawyer. It's up to you. Being a doctor or a lawyer is noble, but being the entrepreneur that employs the doctor and employs the lawyer, is a whole nother level. And so my advice is, seek sovereignty, seek independence, seek to create a business that is going to solve a problem in our society. The greatest wealth that will ever be created is ahead of us. We're hearing about Elon Musk being, the richest man in the world. He just passed 300 billion in net worth. They're going to be trillionaires shortly. And those trillionaires are going to be trillionaires because they have solved big problems that the world needs. We know the environment is failing. We know there are social justice issues. We know there are all kinds of problems in our society. And that's what entrepreneurs do, is they solve problems. So my call to action for each and every single one of you, school's over, now what? Become an entrepreneur. It is the best profession you could ever get involved in.
What advice would Walter give?
Look, as I had said earlier, I graduated from Dale High with my associates, but I didn't finish my bachelor's at Monmouth, right? Because I didn't have the money to finish my last year. I don't necessarily look, school's not for everybody, right? Like everybody has their own path. So I tell folks all the time, like, go with what your passion is, right? Go with what your gut says. In the space of creative and design and development, you don't necessarily, and I hate to be this guy that says this, but you don't really need a degree. Like I've had plenty of times where I passed on the kid from Harvard and went with a kid who didn't even have a high school diploma, right? It means nothing to me. Like what I give a shit about is the work. Can you do the work, right? And that's all that matters, my man.
Okay, so here's the truth. If you do one-on-one work, either you like it or you don't. You're in one of two camps. Regardless of what camp you're in, you will only be able to make so much money as someone who is trading time for dollars. There's nothing wrong with it. But the problem, there's always problems with every business model, is you will hit a ceiling of there's only so much money you can make. And so the number one reason to create a digital course is so that you can take less clients, charge more of a premium price, be very selective in who you work with one-on-one, because let's be honest, we've all worked with one-on-one clients we would like to fire. And so be more selective with who you work with, and then create a digital course for everybody else. But when I say that, I work with so many one-on-one coaches and consultants. The first thing they say to me is, oh, Amy, what I do would never translate into a digital course. I work very personally one-on-one, like it's a pitch and a catch. I ask them questions, they give me their answers, I formulate their plan. It's very personal. And I tell them there is always a way to take your one-on-one formula and turn that into a course. And I got to give you an example, okay?
All right, let's do it.
So one of my students, a star student, her name is Lauren Messiah, and she was a personal stylist in Los Angeles. She did one-on-one personal styling to the point that she went to their house, went through their entire closet, figured out what they needed, went and shot for them, schlepped back the big racks of clothing down the streets of LA, put these racks into their house, tried the clothes on the person, and then decided what they're going to keep and not keep. Talk about personal, tangible one-on-one consulting or coaching. That's what she did.
Wow.
And she was tired of schlepping those racks all around LA. She was tired of some of the clients she was working with, and she wanted to scale. She knew she had reached a max of how much money she could make. So she took the formula that she uses with one-on-one clients and she put that into a digital course. She has made over $1 million with a course on how to style yourself using the formula she used with one-on-one. That's like one example of many. I promise you it can be done.
What advice would the queen of confidence, Erica, give?
Think about what part of your life right now you're living that you're not happy with. And think about one thing. One thing, if you could do one thing, because I don't like all this like hustle mentality where we do 50 million things. Just one thing that you're unhappy with that you could do to make yourself happier. Do you hate your job? Are you working at Guitar Center even though you graduated from fucking Harvard? Probably. A lot of people do that shit. Yeah. They working at Guitar Center trying to pay off their loan and they're not even doing the thing they went to school for. Cool. Right? No judgment. Don't beat yourself up because that's just you sitting in victimhood, right? Be like, okay, cool. I'm not happy with this. What do I need to do now? Identify. I need to find a job that's going to make me happy. Fantastic. How exciting. You hate your job. You could start looking for other jobs. You could start looking for opportunities. Just the looking and the thinking about how it's going to feel in a place that you love and a new job, like that should give you that energy. And you start moving towards something. The problem is when we're stuck and we don't do anything, we have no plan to do anything, it's exhausting. It drains our energy. We don't want, oh God, It's like you got to start focusing on what are you going to work on and what needs to happen. Because then you have a game plan. You have something like Tony Robbins calls it a compelling future. Like you got something to look forward to. I'm going to find a job that I love. How exciting. I hate my job right now, but how exciting. So I think you really need to question, why am I doing what I'm doing? No one's ever going to be pleased. So the person you need to please is yourself. If you genuinely wanted to go to college and do that thing, go do it. Is it a self-sabotage? Are you scared that you're not good enough? Handle that. How will you know? Like Shawn said, you need to have the awareness. You need to know your mind. What are you thinking about? What are your thoughts? Who are you? Like, what do you think about yourself? If maybe you went to school and it's over and you're like, I actually don't know why I went to school, don't badger yourself. Yeah. Don't beat yourself up. Okay, now what? What do you want to do now? I don't know. Maybe I want to travel. Maybe I want to do, like, check in with you. You got to know thyself. If you don't know yourself, you're just going to get inspired by different podcasts and different leaders and people, and you're going to be swirling around, not doing anything. So know thyself. Where are you unhappy? What area needs your attention? What do you need to do? One thing in order to move yourself out. And lastly, I would say, the number one thing you could do to change your life is to manage your mind, is to become the security guard of your mind. What is coming in there? Who's hanging out up there? What's going on up there? What is serving you in here? What is not serving you? What are your top 3 thoughts that mess with you the most, that need to be kicked out of the nightclub? Your mind, right? And what needs to be put in there? If you don't know this, you're not going to have the results that you want. So this is the number one thing. Like, start thinking about what you're thinking about. Start paying attention to your thoughts, because your thoughts make you feel a way. And when you feel a way, you take an action or you don't take an action. And that's what gives you the results. Manage that mind of yours. Check in with your life. Comb through the areas that you're not happy with. One thing that you can do to move yourself out of there and please you, because you're the one that's important, not your dad, not society, not what someone told you. Follow you. Get to know you so you know what you want.
What advice would Lauren give?
Let me say this. Today, I wish I paid attention more in school like I should have, because I would have been extra triple threat dangerous. I was more interested in building relationships. That's where I was strong. I was a people person always. I really love people. So it wouldn't have changed the outcome of my life, I don't think. And my husband, he'll tell you that, I think. It won't change the outcome of my life. But, there's something about, putting in the time, getting the education. But I also believe that people, I hope they stay stupid enough and not get so educated that they won't believe in themselves to step out and be an entrepreneur, to step out and do something and not go work the 9 to 5 for somebody else's dreams rather than your own dreams. And so, I think, back then it was, my dad telling me, hey, school's out. What are you going to do now? You need to go. And it's so funny. My dad told me when I finished high school, you're going to apply for Eastern Airlines. They're taking applications down the street. And I was like, Dad, I don't want to be a flight attendant. He said, well, you have to be. You have to do something. I said, Dad, I don't want to fly. In fact, I'm afraid to fly. Well, you're going to fly. So I figured how many people could be in line. I had no idea. I pulled up. There must have been 3,000 people. I was in Greensboro, North Carolina. I was standing in this line. It took for hours. They were only pulling, Shawn, 10 people. What were the chances of me getting that job? Long story short, I got the job. They wrote me a letter and said, hey, Eastern Airlines has now hired you. You start your training in 4 weeks. You got to go to Atlanta and do this. I was traumatized. I was devastated. All I kept doing was crying in my room thinking, I'm going to have to go live my dad's dream rather than my dream. I don't want to do this. I met my husband just a few short weeks later, and I was getting ready to break it to my dad that I wasn't going to take the Eastern Airlines opportunity. And of course, he was so proud because I got accepted for the darn thing, but I just didn't, it's not what I wanted. And as I was getting ready to tell him, I checked the mail, true story, there was a letter in there from Eastern Airlines saying they had just went out of business.
Wow.
And they weren't going to be hiring people. And if I wanted to, I could move over to Orient Airlines, which I don't even know if I've ever heard of them, and take a position with them that they would keep the same salary and offer me a position with Orient Airlines. I tore that letter up so fast. I made sure that my dad saw the news where Eastern Airlines had went out, and I never, ever had to do that. And I ended up going to work for my own dreams. And it took him a long time to understand that. It took my dad, who passed away at a very early age, my mom too, a long time for him to even come to see how I lived or my house. Not because he's a bad dad. It's all he knew.
Yeah.
To see, sometimes our parents aren't bad people. When I say you have to check out, you have to check out and take that mental vacation from people you love. Sometimes it's your own family. And so my dad, I had to check out from my dad because I didn't want to live his dream. I had no desire to live his dream. So when I finally checked out, didn't mean I didn't love him. I did. Just meant not now, Dad. Not now. Now's not the time for you to be in here. And so the most important thing I do when I got out of school is I protected my mind. My mind is my most valuable asset. I protect my mind. I guard it with my life. Don't let anyone in here. Don't let anyone in here. Because if you do, you'll become a prisoner of your own mind.
What advice would Carlos King give?
So look, I don't think a lot of people know this, but I dropped out of college my junior year.
because so remember that internship I had at 25 years old?
Yep.
I thought to myself, damn, Lowe's, you kind of old to be an intern, but we're gonna take it anyway. So I did that for maybe 6 months or 6 to 8 months. And then I was hired after the 8 months to be a production assistant. So I had a job.
Wow.
I had a job. So, mind you, I was still in school because when I graduated high school, I took a gap year. Then I attended college in Detroit, my hometown. And I left Detroit my junior year in college to go to New York. And y'all may know this. So when you transfer colleges, all of your credits all of them don't get transferred.
Nope.
So I was set back as a sophomore because all my credits did not transfer. So I'm in New York City, 22 years old, a sophomore in college, and I was like, it's okay. And I had to wait another year because when you are not a local in the state in which you're going to college, your tuition fee is like double.
Yep.
So I waited a year. Okay. So at this point, I'm 23. So I waited a year just to be a sophomore again. Right? So by 25, I was a junior. And I said, I got one more year left until I graduate. But I got this job at BET. And I remember being in geology class in college. And I had to leave work to go to my night classes. And I looked around the class and I was like, everybody in this auditorium would love to have the job that I have. They're working hard to graduate to get the job that I have. And I'm wasting my time being here. I already beat y'all. I'm already 2 steps ahead of y'all. I walked out in the middle of the professor speaking, turned my back, and never looked back. So, and I'm where I'm at now. So I have to be honest. So school's over, now what? So for me, listen, I'm not somebody who thinks you must get a college degree. Of course, it depends on your profession. You can't be a doctor out here without a medical degree, right?
Facts.
So we ain't doing that. So depending on your profession, my only advice would be to follow your dreams and to not feel like a certificate is the keys to success.
What advice would Bradley give?
Like, a lot of people want to complicate it. It boils down to choices every day. The choices you make determine the road you take. Every day is a series of choices. Are you making the good ones or bad ones? Well, most people don't even realize that it's that simple because those little choices equal the big ones. There are no big decisions to make in life if you're making the small ones consistently well. Right? Every day, should I get up or should I sleep in? Should I work out or should I not work out? Should I smoke this or not smoke that? Should I get that phone number or not get that phone number? Should I go with these people or not go with these people? There's people sitting in prison because their buddies talked them into going with them. Yes or no?
Facts. It's all facts. They got to talk.
Dude, they should have said no. And what's crazy is, you should have said no, fam. You know you should have said no, but you said yes. Why did you say yes? You said yes because you were worried about what your fam thought instead of what you thought. And the reason why is because you don't value you. You don't freaking honor you. You honor everybody else because that's what we've been taught to do. Well, guess what? It's the wrong way to do it. You value yourself. You honor yourself and you make decisions based on that. And guess what? You're going to end up all right. Now, the question is maybe you can't because you don't love yourself. You don't value yourself. Somebody done sold you on you ain't worth it. Well, guess what? I can help you repair that. Who wants help repairing that?
What advice would Sal give?
There's one idea that, in my opinion, makes true greatness. there's one idea that if you want to wake up every day and go for a life of happiness, your life's going to go ups and downs. But there's another goal that's, I think, even loftier than a goal for happiness. Don't wake up every day and say, what can I do to make myself happy? It's what can I do to bring myself a life of meaning, to have my life matter. And it comes from one thing, the word responsibility. That's it. It's how do I look at the day? Do I wake up and I have the goal that I want to take responsibility for the world? That doesn't mean just responsibility for my family or my friends or my community or my job, but the world. And how do I take responsibility for the world? And here's the tool I want to give your listeners. It's wherever in life we have the ability to respond. You see, responsibility is the ability to respond. So waking up every day and saying, how can I make a difference? You know, somebody needs a parking spot. They don't see it. You can wave them in. Yeah. You lose a little bit of your own time, but you just helped another person. You know, I remember getting on a flight once, and I remember I wanted the seat near the window because I was flying to go speak at like a university on the East Coast that I travel and speak a lot. I needed to sit near the window because I needed to sleep on the flight because when I was landing, I was giving a talk. Yeah. And when I get to the airline, when I get to the gate, they're like, oh, I'm sorry, we have you sitting in the middle. I'm like, oh, this is terrible. Can you at least move me anywhere? Like, we have no windows anywhere, but we do have an aisle we could give you in another row. I'm like, all right, I'll take the aisle. So they give me the aisle, and I go to that aisle seat, and I'm sitting there. The whole plane's filling up, and the entire plane fills up. They close the door. The flight attendant starts talking, going through the rundown with oxygen and all that. And I notice next to me, the middle seat is totally empty, and the window seat is totally empty. They gave me the whole row. That's insane. That's incredible. Like, they told me they had nothing for me. Now I get the whole row, and the entire flight is filled, every seat except for my whole row. Think about the story I could have had to tell my wife and kids when I land. Guys, when I land, this is incredible. Look what happened to Daddy. Look how I have the greatest life. I mean, I get the whole row. But what I didn't tell you, Shawn, is when I got on the plane, I actually noticed this woman who had like 2 or 3 kids traveling alone, having a struggle. And she was sitting there. And I remember sitting next to her was this Latina woman and her husband, and they were frustrated. They were sitting next to this woman with all these kids, and she was passing them around and like changing diapers. And I had these 2 seats next to me. So I get up and I go to the front of the plane. And I say to this Latina woman and her husband, I'm like, you know what? I should tell you, I actually have a couple extra seats next to me if you want to come back. She ran back there with her husband and was so grateful. Now the woman with her kids had more room to spread out in the front. Wow. And this Latina woman and her husband could now sit there. Now look, I did take the window. I'm not crazy. I gave them the middle seat in the aisle next to me. You know what? I got up. And yes, even though I lost a little bit of room for myself, I was able to help another person. That's what I mean by the ability to respond. To go through every day and see how can I impact another person. Because when we do that, we truly will have a life that's awesome. And that's what I think that people should keep in their minds. As you're figuring out school's over, now what? Wake up and say, where do I have the ability to make a difference, to serve humanity?
Hey, what's up, fam? Thanks for watching. Don't forget, hit that subscribe button, smash that like button. We'll see you next week here at School's Over Now What? And always remember, dream it, believe it, go out and get it.